the GNU is a very caring government. The GNU is thriving. The ones that said the GNU will not last, they have entered divorce. What you see here is a divorce.
Point of order. Order, Mr. Speaker.
After the break, we're going to speak to the EFF founding president of the EFF Student Command, that is Mpho Morolane. This is the man who quit the EFF just about a day or so ago. But the EFF today is saying he was never a member of the EFF at the time of his resignation. I'll start that conversation with him by just clarifying whether or not he was a member of the EFF. Stay with us. Welcome back. So the question we've been asking you tonight is, what do you make of some of the politicians we've seen moving from one party to the other in a very short space of time? And given how the MK party is attracting a lot of these politicians lately, what risk or advantages does this bring to the organization? Let's start with some of the tweets that have come through. Siabulela said, Clement, that attests to the political poverty that we're currently experiencing in our generation. This illicitists only care about careerism rather than the constituencies. It further testifies to the fact that politicians can't save us. Mzufukile says those politicians can't be trusted because today they say the opposite of what they said yesterday. They duck and dive when they're being asked about the reason to jump ship. Morales says, in a fluid political climate such as ours, it is inevitable that various political players will hop from one party to the next. In the end, we might see the consolidation of the opposition, which is good for our fledgling democracy. Luvuyo says, as long as they don't change what they stand for, a political party remains a vehicle to achieve a goal. Nothing special, really, about political parties. And Elon says this risks alienating voters and diminishing trust in the political system. Unfortunately, I don't remember any political party that has a law or policy that says it should reject other political parties' rejects. MKP should be careful of who they appoint on top positions. In fact, let's move to this story now. The Economic Freedom Fighters has suffered another blow as its former Student Command President Mpho Morolane has announced that he is leaving the party for the MK party. Morolane, who was the founding president of the EFF Student Command, submitted his resignation on Wednesday morning to EFF Secretary General Marshall Dlamini. He joins us in studio now. Mpho, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to your viewers.
Let's start with your resignation letter. You submitted it on Wednesday, and then earlier today the EFF responded. Their Secretary General said, you don't appear on the EFF membership system. He said the EFF, and I quote here, the EFF wishes you well as you trace your political home. It's almost like they're, denouncing you and saying you were never part of this party at the time of your resignation. Were you or were you not?
Clement, I'm not sure why should I respond to the administrative challenges of the SGO's office of the EFF. I mean, I saw the letter. It was emailed to me this afternoon. I did not care to respond. Why? Because at least there's an agreement that one is no longer a member of the EFF. I'm not sure why are they sending me an email stating that I was not a member. However, I did give proof to some of your colleagues to show that one was the member of the EFF when resigned. But also remember, one was not just an ordinary member of the EFF. I'm the inaugural president of the EFF Students Command, and no one can diminish that fact. So they must grapple with the fact that I have left, and as a leader, I had people who were following me. That's why I deemed it appropriate that I must communicate that I'm relinquishing my participation and membership of the EFF. The person who should be grappling with whether I'm a member of the MK or not is Dr. Sfiso Maseko. He's the one who should be asking and I should be panicking.
Yeah.
But I've divorced them. Why do you want us to take back to a divorce and say, no, have a last night together? It's a divorce, it's done. One is a member of the MK now.
Yeah, and just to update our viewers, if you go to our reporter, our colleague here at SABC News, Samkelo Maseko, you'll see that he has tweeted, this is proof of your payment of your membership, right? When you paid for your membership, and proof of your forms that you had filled. This is back in 2020 when you were renewing your membership for the organization. Is that correct?
Look, I don't want to grapple with the administrative challenges. We are now on a new path, which is the Mkondo Wesizwe party. And I should have started, Clement, by congratulating the MK Youth League by performing well at Tshwane University of Technology. I mean, in 9 months, the Youth League of Mkondo Wesizwe, under the auspices of Jacob Gedlehlekise Zuma, attained 9 seats. So I'm interested in talking about those issues, because that is what is going to shape the future of politics and institutions of higher learning.
And we're going to talk about those issues. I think it's important that we give our viewers some clarity here. What I want to understand is, how involved were you in the party? Are you able to share with our viewers, like, what branch did you belong to as well when you were in the EFF, especially over the last, let's say, 5 years, before you decided to call it quits this week? And
let me date it back before then. Remember, I was part of the Central Command team of the EFF that was elected in 2020. And I was invited by the Commander-in-Chief himself to say that, come, because we have deficiency of leadership in the organization. I went. And I said, be cognizant of the fact that one also is the General Secretary of National Association of South African Workers. And we couldn't agree on the modality of me being a full-time General Secretary and also serving as a member of the Central Command team. And there was an agreement that one should relinquish his responsibilities as a CCT member so that I can fully focus on my responsibilities as the General Secretary of a trade union. And I gladly did so. And from the background that I'm giving you, you'll understand that my participation in the organization directly was minimal. But let us broaden the participation of activists in the struggle. You see, that's why the EFF is struggling currently. It's a challenge for them. It cannot be that if a person is a member, for an example, of a trade union, then you say that they can't partake politically. I think that was short-sighted of the leadership. And it will be impossible for them to contest the African National Congress overwhelmingly. Remember, when you talk of the ANC, you are speaking of COSAS, you are speaking of SASCO, you are speaking of the ANC Youth League, the Women's League, the Federation, and the SACP. Partners. Now, there are responsibilities embedded in those important structures that I've mentioned. And now, Msholozi, Ngamalala, he's saying there must be an expedition of the MK Youth League, the MK Student Command, the Women's League. It shows that those are the parties that are serious in contesting and taking power in this country. So to be clear, just to understand you, you were not active in the EFF in recent years? No, but I was active. I'm saying to you that there were people who were coming to my offices to say that they were sent by the labor desk of the EFF. As a general secretary, I can't operate the way the organization wanted me to operate. I'm a full-time GS. I take decisions in the organization. To say that one was not participating, I think it would be short-sighted. All right. You had indicated to me earlier today that one of the reasons you decided to leave the organization is that, and I quote, we can't continue outsourcing our brains to a leader. Was that your experience with Julius Malema? Look, you see, and I understand fighters, but fighters are cowards. you know. They are cowards in a sense that they are outsourcing the thinking to the leadership. You saw the attacks that you saw on social media, Twitter. I can tell you they were sanctioned. If you check some of the members of the Central Command team and parliamentarians, they got an instruction that attack, you know, and they attacked, unfortunately, without a proper information. I'm saying if you exist in an organization, people must be allowed to state their issues, to give their views and all of that. Let me give you a practical example. 90% of the fighters on the ground, including 90% of the Central Command team members, do not agree with the messaging. I'm saying messaging on migration. You can't contradict yourself and say that there must be creative ways of foreigners flocking on the southern tip of the continent. Remember, we want to have regulations where we know how many foreigners we have and all of that. Don't I want the United States of Africa? I want it, but not a chaotic United States of Africa where there's no accountability and regulation from our government. It should be political parties championing matters of relegation. You can't abdicate responsibilities and say, no, it must be government and all of that.
Yeah.
No, it must start with political parties.
What do you make of how Mbuyiseni Ndlozi has often had a discussion around this issue?
I'm impressed with the articulation of Ndlozi, but I'm saying it is not in line with what Julius Malema is saying. Julius Malema says, let's have creative ways Zimbabweans to enter here. Whereas Mbuyiseni Ndlozi says, why not speaking of an open border policy without regulation? For me, it's a contradiction.
Speaking of Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, you had indicated that he should probably run for the position of the party's Secretary General. I think the Mail and Guardian in tomorrow's newspaper, they are running a story that the Gauteng EFF is trying to put a motion that will abolish the position of Deputy President. I'll still go through that story, but it's a headline that I saw. And that would prevent, I suppose, people like Mbuyiseni, if they wanted to contest the position. Do you still think he's still good enough to contest one of those top positions? And do you think he will, given how Julius Malema has responded lately?
You know, honestly speaking, one is not interested in talking about the affairs of the EFF. I've divorced them. I've given them a resignation letter. So why must I have interest in who comes as a secretary and all of that? I was clear.
You tweeted it.
No, I tweeted. I was a member when I tweeted, and I stood by that position. If I was there, I was going to stick by what I proposed to the branches of the EFF. And maybe let me clarify something. You see, people think I'm their peer politically. Remember, it's a fact I'm the inaugural president of the EFF Students Command. I'm not some regional a chairperson or regional secretary who will wait for branches and state their position in branches. As a president, there are prerogatives which we have in shaping the discussion in the country. So it was one of my responsibilities, and I was exactly doing that. So I can't be responding to juniors on Twitter saying, no, I'm out of order, by saying I prefer a candidate such as the one I raised.
What role are you hoping to play in the MK party? Do you want to go to parliament?
No. You see, my attraction to the MK is the clarion call of 16 December 1961, that in life, a nation sometimes will have choices, whether to fight or submit. And comparatively speaking, if you analyze the approach of President Jacob Zuma, Malala, you'll realize that he's serious about taking power in the Republic of South Africa, not some people who are contesting elections. And when you join a party like that, you subject yourself to the wisdom of the leader, which is Malala. Remember, we're speaking about the former states.
And this is president. A man, by the way, you led protests.
No, I'm coming there. Let me finish this point. I'm saying I had a narrative which is very wrong, especially as African people, saying that we can't follow an 82-year-old pension. I think that's absurd coming from an African brother, because as an African, when we look at our old people, those are the people with wisdom and guidance. So I'm subjecting myself to that man because of his wisdom. He led the intelligence under the armed struggle. He's been critical in ensuring that there's a liberation.
Your party
of the
called him a
African people.
constitutional delinquent. Why did you lead protests for him to step down? You said he violated the constitution. He shouldn't be president at the time.
The march, when they went to union buildings, I was in the United States of America. I was invited there. I did not participate in that march. And if you check, I never uttered anything untoward against the Nxamalala Msholozi. Now, when he was incarcerated, I'm the one of the people in the organization boldly who said that it will be absurd to celebrate the incarceration
but back then, I do remember,
President
Mpho, back then you did
Zuma.
say this man has violated the constitution, he has to step down.
Remember, I'm a member of a political organization. If there's a posture of a political organization, one subject himself or herself to that particular posture. But you can't quote me anywhere where I said Nxamalala is a constitutional delinquent.
Yes, that's a position the party took, but I know you said he must step down because he violated the constitution.
EFF said so, yes.
Thank you so much for coming down through, Mpho. I'm hoping to have a chat with you some more in your new role, whatever it will be in the MK party.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to you
Thank you for
watching the Thursday edition of Face the Nation. We'll be back on